What about what would you say like in terms of like toxic relationships? Because I know, for example, especially men or women who can be toxic, they tend to gaslight or they tend to manipulate. How would you handle that situation?
If it's a constant thing all the time, I would probably just eventually get out
Never.
of that relationship. You gotta just go. You kind of move on from that because at no point if you keep trying to if you tried to fix it and nothing changed, you just gotta be like, you know what? There's nothing I can do to change this person, and why am I going to? If I'm getting all frustrated and mad over this, and it's just a toxic thing, why am I gonna stick with it? I'm just gonna go new and better places, better pastures.
Yeah, it's literally it's like a back and forth. It's a vicious cycle. And I
Yes,
ask
break the
because
cycle and boom.
yeah, I speak from experience, so it's not a good thing. And say, from my experiences, I would get a certain way, and then that person would accuse me of being toxic. So it's like a vicious cycle.
Odds are you're not going to fix a toxic relationship, and that relationship is going to stay toxic, and you're just wasting both the people's time.
Yeah, it's also really bad for your mental health as well. So
Yeah,
I definitely, yeah, for those, definitely stay away.
Yeah, you got to look at what people do, not what they say. You got their actions tell you everything about it, and everybody, men and women both, we all project our fantasy of what we want the person to be on them, and we often ignore the reality of how they are. And because we're emotionally invested in them, we'll put up with all kinds of crap and bad behavior or toxic behavior. And part of that also is you got to set and enforce healthy boundaries. And if someone's violating yourself and your dignity and your boundaries, then they're going to get the gift of missing you because that communicates that you're serious. In other words, if you remove yourself from their presence because they're not treating you properly, they're not easygoing, easy to get along with, or they're berating you, or they're talking shit about you in public or behind your back, or whatever it happens to be, if they continue, if it's a girl that is texting other male orbiters or in her line of work, which she works with a lot of guys, and she's giving out her phone number to other guys, even though she supposedly is in a relationship, and then they're trying to get into her pants, and you tell her that you explain to her why that behavior is not okay, and yet she continues to do it. I got an email I'm gonna probably do next week from a guy that sent an email back in January of this year because he caught his wife sexting another dude in another state, and they hadn't met or anything like that. But obviously, when he saw the sexting and what she was saying to this dude, he's like, she's never once in the whole time we've been together ever said anything like that to me. And so he says, if you ever do it again, I'm gone. Well, she says, I blocked this guy. He's gone. I'll never speak to him again. And, a few weeks later, she did it again. And on top of that, she was making plans to finally meet this guy who was like, halfway across the country. So it's like that's the kind of thing. When you recognize that behavior, you don't keep giving that person an opportunity to do it again. I had a guy, I remember, I think it was last year or the year before, that I was talking to, and he was in the military, and a girl he was dating, he'd been with for like 10 years. And she was same thing, constantly giving out her phone number, and because she worked in a business where there was a lot of dudes, and she was hot, and she got hit on all the time, and she didn't say no, I'm in a relationship, her boyfriend be deployed and stuff like that, but over the whole 10, 12, 15 years, whatever it was that they were together, it's like she cheated on him a bunch of times, and he kept taking her back, because his kids absolutely loved her as a stepmom, and but she just was continuously disloyal and unfaithful to him. And he's like, I got this book, I'm gonna try and fix her. And it's like, bro, you got a decade. This is an open relationship woman, sex playmate, friends with benefits. She's not somebody to wife up or have as a girlfriend because she's not capable of loyalty, and she's never once in 15 years been loyal to you. It's like you can't work with that. But a lot of people, it's like they create the problems for themselves because they stick around way longer than they should, and they put up with crap that they shouldn't because they're nice people. Like Jocelyne, I know, is very, very super nice person, very kind, very loyal, and she sees the best in everybody. And oftentimes she'll tend to stick around longer than she should. Most of us tend to do
Unfortunately.
that, but she does that also. And it's just part of growing as a human being is learning to disengage when you see those patterns, or they're gaslighting you, or they're jacking you around.
Yeah, you see it long enough to, I mean, on my end, it takes me a while, but eventually I realize when someone's being manipulative or gaslighting me. But from the sounds of this chick, it seems like she had, not only is she a habitual cheater, but clearly she had no remorse for doing what she's doing.
It's her value system. She just doesn't care, and she would feel terrible, and she would cry every time she got busted, but yet she kept doing it. So you have to bottom line a human being's actions. In that case, it's like she's been doing it for 10 years, dozens of times. It's like, and those are the ones that he knew about. Those are the only ones that got caught. And it's, that's who she is. As Maya Angelou said, when somebody shows you or tells you who they are, believe them the first time. And so, first time that happened, if loyalty and monogamy is what's important to him, he should have dipped. And he didn't do that. He stayed engaged with a toxic person, and that was on him. Because he's thinking, I'm going to fix her, I'm going to save her, I'm going to change her. And if I remember right, he probably, had an alcoholic member or mentally ill member person that was on and off their medication or whatever. And so they were used to making excuses when the boss calls, or, hey, dad's passed out on the couch because he was up drinking all night, and those kinds of things. And so if you grow up covering from a family member, oftentimes they kind of have a, Captain Save-A-Ho complex, or the White Knight complex, or I'm going to fix this person. Girls are famous for getting into relationships with guys that are a train wreck, but they're like, he'd be such a great boyfriend. If he could fix his one thing, he'd be perfect. And yet they just keep getting burned over and over and over again.